I hope everybody can still hear me. Please do let me know if you can still hear me. Thank you. All right. You are all welcome to this Zoom session. Please, if you have not done so, please mute yourself as you come in. So that would be appreciated. Thank you. To avoid this Zoom session is actually the result of so many questions I got when Faith Ayomide, one of my mentees, put a post on LinkedIn. So I got a lot of questions as to, okay, how do I get fully funded graduate admission? How do I go about graduate studies? A lot of emails and DMs. So I felt I wouldn't be able to answer all of the questions by speaking and attending to them individually. I decided to put together this program. So I hope you are going to get, it's going to be worthwhile for attending this program. And this is how the program is going to go. I'm going to welcome, just like I welcomed you now. I would also want you guys to put it on the chat where you are connecting from. That would be appreciated if you can put where you are connecting from on the chat just before I proceed to what I would like to share with you. So if you can put where you are connecting with us on the chat, that would be appreciated. Thank you. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, and then I will also go ahead and talk about some tips and steps to securing fully funded graduate admission. And also, I would answer some of the questions that I've had. I've printed them out. Some of you have sent me questions via the phone. I would also allow some of us to ask our questions live. So that means that you can ask our questions live. At the same time, I'm also going to answer some of the questions that have been sent to me before now. Okay. Yeah, thank you. So, who is Johnson Aina? I think that would be what I'm going to start with. Who is Johnson Aina? And why do I think I can do what I'm doing right now? So I'm going to share a few things about myself with you. So allow me to share my screen. I'm going to share my screen so that you guys can know who Johnson Aina is. Okay, so I hope everybody can see my screen. If you can see my screen, please do let me know, maybe by a thumbs up. That will help me to know that you can see my screen. Thank you. So about me, Johnson Aina is my name. Let me just start the slideshow. Okay, so who is Johnson Aina? Yeah, I had an associate degree from mechanical engineering from the Federal Polytechnic at Ekiti, where I graduated as the second best student in the class. I went ahead to study mechanical engineering at Obafemi Awolowo University, where I got my bachelor's. I graduated with a first class. and then went ahead to study for my master's in mechanical and materials engineering at the University of Manitoba in Canada, where I graduated with a distinction. I also had a certificate of quality management from the University of Manitoba. I graduating with a distinction. I did credential of readiness in business administration with the Harvard Business School. And then I am also a professional engineer in the province of Manitoba in Canada since 2016. I am the Vice President, Engineers Geoscientist, Manitoba Nigerian chapter here in Manitoba since 2019. All right, so I had my first fully funded graduate admission, so meaning that I am a fully funded scholar at Howard University, Washington, D.C., in the US in 2012. So that was where I started my master's before I got on that scholarship to come to Canada. I am also a fully funded scholar at the University of Manitoba, Winnipeg here in 2012 and 2021. However, I had to let go of the 2021 scholarship because I started working. So I could pay for that myself so that the scholarship can be transferred to somebody else. Okay, I've been a PhD student since last year in Mechanical and Materials Engineering, University of Manitoba. Here is about, I have about 8 years plus engineering practice, and I'm still young. I worked with Model Coach Industries as a design, quality, and reliability engineer at different times. I also worked with Standard Aero Limited as a development and project in the development and project engineering section. I currently work with Master Brand Cabinet Incorporated as a senior engineer, technical project manager. And I also run an engineering firm for myself, AJ Engineering Services, where we do design, business development, and project management. I have been an education consultant for more than 10 years through my consulting company, AJ Distinct Consults. And here is Johnson. With his cool and nice face. And that's my family. My wife also has a PhD, and she's one of our directors at AJ Distinct Consults. She handles our biological science clients, and she has a PhD in pharmacy from the University of Manitoba. Okay, you can connect with me on these platforms, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and then on you can send me email, and then that is a company's website, www.ajdistinct.com, and then my email jina@ajdistinct.com. So that is what I want to share initially. So that will give you an idea of who Johnson Aina is. I'm going to stop sharing now, and then I'm going to be speaking. So yeah, once again, welcome to this webinar or this Zoom session. I am going to be sharing what I know about graduate admission. I have about 15 years of graduate application experience, and that is because I started thinking and planning and working towards getting my graduate admission since 2006, 2007, thereabouts. So between 2006 and now, that should be about 16 years actually. So, but if you look at it from 2007, then that should be about 15 years. So that tells you that I have about 15 to 16 years of experience in graduate application and graduate admission. I have guided myself to securing fully funded graduate admission, and I have equally guided a number of people to secure fully funded graduate admission, both in the US as well as in Canada. I don't want to rush it, that's why I'm talking very slowly. Normally, I'm a fast talker, but I will try as much as possible to go slowly so that you guys can follow me as much as possible. Like I said earlier, my scholastic work cut across the US at Howard University as well as here in Canada. So December 29th, when Faith made that post, was exactly 10 years since I got into North America. So that means that I left Nigeria actually. 2011 was when I left Nigeria and I went to the US. So 2012 September, when I got scholarship at the University of Manitoba, I left the US and I moved to Manitoba here in Canada. So that means that I have made Manitoba my home, my second home since 2012. And more about myself, in 2014, I became a permanent resident of Canada. That is about 2 years after I got into Canada. And then in 2018, I became a citizen of this wonderful country. What does that tell me? It means that it is possible to go from being a student to being a citizen without cutting corners. I know a lot of people are always asking, oh, so how do I come to Canada? How do I relocate to the US and stuff? You can do that through any means. A lot of people are going into the US or coming to Canada through different means or through different pathways. But the pathway that I've gone through myself and that has worked for a number of people like myself is that if you go through the pathway of education, you don't have to cut corners, right? I just told you how easy it has been for me to transition from being a student visa holder to becoming a citizen of this country. What does that mean? It means that I can vie for political position now in this country. In fact, I can contest to become the Prime Minister of Canada if I so wish. So that is exactly what it means when you become a citizen of a country like Canada. And it is straightforward. Like I said, you don't have to cut corners. You don't have to do anything shady. Once you come in as a student, transitioning to becoming a permanent resident is straightforward. And then to transition from being a permanent resident to a citizen is equally straightforward. So meaning that if you come in as a student, you don't have to bother your head as to, okay, how do I become a permanent resident? No, everything will work out fine. Once you go through it, you don't need anybody to help you out. You can always get everything done by yourself if you are ready to put in the work. Okay, thank you so much. That is a little bit about myself in terms of where I come from and where I am currently. Another thing I would like to say, I'll also answer a few questions in that regard, is that it wasn't because my parents were very rich when I came into North America. In fact, we were struggling when I came into North America. That would be a story for another day. But just to let you know that it doesn't matter your family background. Once you know the steps and the tips to securing fully funded graduate admission, you would come in without thinking about how you are going to survive. So personally for me, if it was not for full funding, I wouldn't have even tried to come into Canada, to the US when I did, because it was just few months after I finished my national service in Nigeria. Everyone from Nigeria will understand what it means when you go for NYSC. I served in Kano. I served in Bayero University in Kano. So meaning that, yeah, I served in a very good place. I mean, They were even ready to retain me as a lecturer, but I had a different idea. I have a different plan, and that was why I left 2 months after my NYSC, and I found myself in North America. And I have no regrets coming here for the past 10 years because I have grown, I have developed, I have advanced that professionally and in every area, and I'm giving back to the community that gave me the opportunity. And this is part of the things that I do to share my experience, to share my expertise with people and my upcoming people that are trying to secure fully funded graduate admission like I did 10 years ago. So having said that, I would like to now jump into what are some of the tips and steps to securing fully funded graduate admission. Because I know that is what people want to hear. It's not, they don't want to know about me, but I would like to, Johnson, enough of the story about yourself. Yeah, we know you did that and you did this, but all we want to know is how do I also find myself in Canada? How do I secure full funding? How do I secure scholarship? How do I contact professor? And that is what I'm going to be sharing with you right now. So now there are about 10 steps or 10 tips I'm going to be sharing with you. So it's going to be more of conversational. I don't have any presentation to make. It's going to be conversational. I'll just be talking, and then I hope you guys have your notes to take, your notes and pen to make some points. Right. So now, number one is one of the first things you need to know when you are thinking about graduate studies. Why do I want to go to graduate school? That is a question you need to answer for yourself. Nobody should answer that question for you. And I think that is where it all starts from. Why am I going to graduate school? I was in my third year when I told my mom that I wanted to go to grad school. In fact, a summary version of that story is also in my book that I published. I think I forgot to let you know that in the course of my 10 years too, I published a book to help graduate admission seekers on how to secure fully funded graduate admission in North America, right? So that in that book, I had distilled the steps and what has helped me to secure funded graduate admission, and has equally helped the number of people that has contacted me that have guided into North American University. Thank you. So now back to my point. Why do you want to go to grad school? Some people want to go to grad school because their parents wanted them to become a professor. Some people want to go to grad school because their friend is in grad school. Say, for example, let's say Mr. Ojo Azim is my friend now. And because Johnson is in grad school doing his PhD, and I feel, oh, wow, since Johnson is in grad school, I also need to go to grad school. That might not actually be correct. So you must be able to define your own reason for going to grad school before you actually set out to apply to grad school. Right? You must have your own reason for going to grad school. And it can be very simple, and it can also be complex. It's up to you. So what I'm trying to say is that the number one tip, the number one step, the number one thing you need to do in order for you to set out to apply to grad school is, why am I going to grad school? Why am I doing this? What is there for me? Why do I need to go to grad school? Now, in my 15 years experience of going through this journey, I've seen a lot of reasons why people are deciding for grad school, including myself. Okay, let me tell you why I decided to go to grad school. Number one reason why I decided to go to grad school when I started thinking about it in 2006, 2007, was because I wanted to go to a place where I can further apply the basic concepts I have been equipped with when I was doing my undergrad. Number one, that's number one. Number two was because I wanted to go to a place, and then, okay, let me put it this way. Why do I want to go to grad school outside of Nigeria? Okay, I think that would be a better question to ask. Why did I decide that I would want to go outside of Nigeria for a grad school? The second reason was because I felt I wanted to go to a place where I could be involved in original researches. You know, that doesn't mean that we are not doing research works in Nigeria, but I know that we are kind of limited in Nigeria as to the amount of work we can do, the amount of original researches that are going to be world class as it should be. So I felt, okay, maybe if I step outside of Nigeria, I will be involved in such, right? Like, for example, now I know that, say, for example, there's a particular machine that I work with here at the University of Manitoba, my scanning electron microscopy. The scanning electron microscope, I mean, is a machine that is used to observe the microstructure of material. Don't forget that I am both a mechanical and a material engineer now. Even though I studied mechanical engineering in my undergrad, my graduate studies have exposed me to the world of material science and material engineering. So that means that I'm at the interface between mechanical engineering and material engineering. So I know for sure that in Nigeria, maybe we have 2 or 3 of these equipments. Whereas in this part of the world, even in the University of Manitoba alone, we have more than 2 or about 2. Let me say 2. I know about 2. One at in my professor's lab. I know there is one in the geology department, and I know there is one at the central lab. So about 3 of them, SCM. Now, compared to the whole of Nigeria, that only has 2 or 3 of that. Right? Those are some of the reasons why I wanted to move out of the country. Right? Another reason why people have decided to go to graduate school outside of Nigeria is to move to a region where there is higher probability to succeed. You know, you want to relocate to a place where you have higher probability to succeed, where things are working, and you don't need to know any godfather to get things done, right? You want to go to a place where once you merit it, you are going to be offered, right? I was having a quick chat with my director that I work with in the current place I work. I mean, we're just trying to chat after I resumed the opposition, right? And then it mentioned that, Johnson, it is because you merit this position. It is because we feel you deserve this position, and that is the reason why we have brought you in. So you don't need to know anybody to come in. And that is exactly the same reason why some people would want to come to a country like Canada or go to a country like US, where once you merit something, you can get it. You don't need to know any godfather to get things done. And that is what I coin as going to a region of higher probability to succeed. Right? So another reason for some people might be because they want to become a professor. Maybe because you feel, oh, I like to become a professor. I want to go to a place where I can get involved into original researches and contribute my quota to the body of knowledge, right? Personally, in my few years of working as a graduate researcher, I have contributed in no small measure to the body of knowledge, either with my thesis or with my journal paper or my presentation at conferences, right? Am I solving problems that are real time? Like my master's degree thesis actually resolved and worked on a problem that the aerospace company was having issues with. So you are going to be involved in real life
situation and you can see the benefits of what you are doing. That might be a reason why you want to relocate to a different country via education, where you have higher probability to contribute to the body of knowledge and also to succeed, right? That's number one step. You have to be able to decide, why do I want to go to grad school? The number two tip is that you want to make a list of prospective universities or prospective country that you want to attend. Like, for example, now in North America, you are actually limited to 2 or 3 countries, were popular countries. Let me put it that way. You are limited to, say, Mexico, United States, and then Canada, talking about North America, right? So that means that you can then dive deep into those countries and come up with a list of universities that you feel you want to go to, right? When you come up with those lists, that would be like a guide for you. You can decide to come up with those lists based on ranking or based on different indices. There are different indices you can consider before you put a university on your list. So once you have those lists, let's say, for example, I have 30 universities in the US as well as in Canada, combined 30 universities as my potential universities that I want to attend or apply to, right? Then you now go to your third step or third tip, which I call pre-application evaluation. This is when you evaluate your own results by yourself without even sending it to WES. At that point, you have looked at all of the universities and schools, and then you have looked at what their requirements, and then you are now evaluating your own possibility of getting into those schools based on the requirements of that school, not based on WES. I know people will tell me, okay, Mr. Johnson, what is the difference between this evaluation and WES evaluation? I would explain. This kind of evaluation you will do for yourself is going to let you know whether you have a chance of getting into a particular school. So meaning that if you have 30 universities on your list, you are going to evaluate your result based on those 30 schools. So you are going to have 30 evaluation results if you have 30 schools. And what would that help you to do? That will help you to sieve out universities where you do not fit in. It will help you to not waste your time on universities that are not likely to accept you. Now, say, for example, you have a second-class lower result. It will help you to know that this particular university will not even consider me, so I will not have to apply. You don't have to now waste your time sending your application or sending your transcripts to a school that will not admit you. You don't have to take an expensive gamble. You don't have to take expensive risk, but you are sure to a certain extent that you can meet the minimum requirements of those schools before you even apply to them. That is what I call pre-application evaluation. It's a self-evaluation, right? Then number 3 is that you now begin to do a deeper research about the schools that you have been able to identify that you have you have a chance to get into. Say, for example, out of those 30 universities that you have identified, you are only going to get into, let's say, 10. 20 of them will not admit you based on your own personal evaluation. So those 10 universities, you now begin to delve into them, research about the professors, research more about the schools. All of these things, you are doing them by yourself. You are giving yourself the chance to know that this is what I need to do. It is you are the one doing all of these things by yourself. You are not paying anybody to do it. Why? Because you are following a guide. You have a guide you are following, right? So You delve deep into that. You will be able to research about professors in that school. You identify maybe 2 or 3 professors per school, and then that will now take you into your next tip. That is where you now begin to send out what I call letter of introduction. What does letter of introduction mean? It means just the way the title is. It is a letter you use to introduce yourself to a prospective advisor. Now, in Canada, for example, let me say 90% of the schools and 90% of the program would expect you to have secured a professor before you apply officially. So that means that you must have introduced yourself to professors, and at least one of them must have agreed that they are going to work with you. Now, I will continue to use Mr. Ojo Azim. For example, Mr. Ojo Azim is the one that is doing what I'm trying to talk about. Now he has 10 universities. Out of the 10 universities, the previous tips I talked about was that you now have to come up with list of professors that align with your area of research, right? Say, for example, I'm a mechanical and material engineer. I would want to now look at professors in those areas, right? In those areas. Sometimes I might not get exact professor in those areas. I might have to tweak my own requirements as well to fit into professors with professors' area of research. So after I've done that, and I have to send letter to professors. Say, for example, out of the 10 universities, I identify 3 professors each from the department I am planning to apply to. So I have 30 professors, potential professors, I am going to send letter of introduction to. What will that do for me? It will help me to endear myself to a professor, to understand the professor, and the professor to understand me. And if I can just get 1 yes out of those 30 professors, I don't have to bother my head again of whether or not I will get into that university. It is like a giving. In that case, I don't have to begin to do anything again, because now I have a professor that is willing to supervise me. But the question is this: how do I write letter of introduction? How do I sell my candidacy to, or present my candidacy to these professors? How do I introduce myself to a professor that is getting tons of letters from across the globe? Now, this principle is not only limited to Canada. In fact, in the US, it is also needed. Some of the people I have consulted for, they have used that principle and they have landed themselves in the US with fully funded graduate studies, and then they have enjoyed it. I mean, in fact, currently we are working with some clients that have secured professors already in the US, right? So it is not when you are able to get a professor that is willing to supervise you, it means that by the time you apply to that school, it is that professor that will still recommend you for admission. In that case, you are not just fighting for a position. You are not just trying to get the attention of a professor by applying it. Okay, because when you apply to a pool, you are now competing with a lot of people. But let us say you have secured Professor Johnson to be your professor. Now, coming back to Mr. Ojo, Mr. Ojo had written to Professor Johnson, and Professor Johnson had agreed that, okay, I think I love you, Mr. Ojo. I love your result. I love your tenacity. I think we can work together. These are the ideas I'm looking at for us to work with when you come in. After that, it is after you have been able to secure a professor that you now apply to a school. When you apply to such school where Professor Johnson is, and you have struck connection with him, what do you think would happen? It will just be like a walkover. It will be like a walkover, because Professor Johnson is there to recommend you for admission. At that point, you are not competing with any other person. That is the magic that letter of introduction would do for you. Now, does it mean that you are going to get your yes response from the first email? The answer is no. Maybe not. Maybe you might be lucky that the first professor you send your letter to will say, wow, I love you, Mr. Ojo. Let us get the ball rolling. Probably you have to send it to the 30th professor before you get a yes. And mind you, each letter has to be tailor-made to that professor. So that means that you must not send a generic email to all of the professors. Why? Because not all the professors are working in the same area. And you have to speak to the emotion of those professors. You have to be able to speak their language. And how do you do that? It is by reading some of their papers, looking at what they are up to, and writing to match them at that point. So that by the time that professor reads your letter of introduction, he can connect. A lot of disconnection when people send them generic email. Say, for example, now, my own area of research now is in the area of superalloy, additive manufacturing of superalloy, right? If somebody is now sending me email, for example, on steel, right? On for example now, like on steel, or you are sending me email on ceramics. Or you're just sending me general email and you're not telling me things that pertains to me. You might not get my yes. In fact, I can tell you that I don't have position because you are not speaking my language. So that is the magic that letter of introduction will do. But mind you, I am not saying that the first professor you send it to would give you a yes. But what will keep you going is, why am I going to graduate school? And that should be the very first tip, or very first step, very first nut you are going to crack. Why am I going to grad school? Because it is those reasons, or that reason, that will keep you going to continue to send letter until you get that yes. Right? Okay. Now, then you can then apply to the school afterwards. That is number 4. Another tip is sending reference letters. Some people send reference letters, or they request for reference letters from strangers, from just a random person. Your reference letter is part of your application package. So that means that when you request reference letters, it has to be from somebody who can write very well and positively about you and about your ability. I have seen a lot of my friends send me a request to write a reference letter for them for graduate school. While I would have loved to do that, unfortunately, I do not have enough information to be able to write a compelling reference letter for them. Why? Maybe we're just colleagues at the university as undergraduates. So what am I going to write? What am I going to write in that case that will stand out? We're just colleagues for 2 or 3 or 4 years. Am I going to tell them that, okay, yeah, admit this guy because we are colleagues in the university? That doesn't make sense. So, for example, now you request letter of introduction from, reference letter from somebody who had taught you, a professor, an associate professor. In fact, I wouldn't suggest that you get reference letter from somebody who is still pursuing his master's, because that person must be able to see from the top. Somebody who is pursuing the master and is writing you reference letter to pursue a PhD. There's a disconnect there. Even though he taught you in school, I would prefer that you go to somebody who had a PhD to write a letter for you, for letter of reference for you for your PhD program, than for somebody who only had a bachelor's to write you reference letter for a PhD admission. Because the school is going to rank your reference too. They are going to rank it, and part of the ranking will come from the person that is writing you the reference letter. Now, for example, there was somebody that wanted to apply for a scholarship here in Canada, and he was getting a reference letter from somebody, maybe the person had HND or bachelor's in Nigeria. No, that doesn't work. By the time they rank your letter, while I'm not trying to pull down HND or bachelor's, what I'm trying to say is this: depending on what you are applying to, know that you are competing with people. You are not the only one applying to that program. So whatever you are going to be bringing on board should be top notch. Whatever you are going to be bringing on board should be what would set you apart. Everything from your letter of introduction to your results to the way you communicate. So somebody sent me somebody sent me a message and is asking me, how am I gonna? Somebody's trying to be Americana, to be speaking like an American. How am I gonna? You have to be polite. While you are talking to somebody in America, they also love to people to talk to them in a polite way, in a professional way. You have to be professional in your communication. I'm gonna, those things might land your letter in the trash because you are not speaking professionally. I hope you are getting something. Please let me know if you are getting something in the chat. Let me know if I'm not just talking to the air. I think I've shared few things now. Let me know if you are getting something out of the past 30 minutes I've been talking. Let me know. Okay. The other thing I want to also tell you is that, let us say at the end of the day, you have been able to secure a professor. You have secured an admission. How then do you interpret your funding letter? That's another tip. How do you interpret your funding letter? They gave you funding, they gave you scholarship, they just put it in the letter. Okay, I will use myself as an example. When I was living in Nigeria 10 years ago, going to 11 years now anyways, my scholarship to the US was worth $35,000. That is what I have on my I-20. $35,000 per year. That is a lot of money. 10 years ago, that was a lot of money. Even now, it's still a lot of money. However, even if your scholarship is worth $50,000, there is a way you have to interpret your letter within the confine of the country you are going to, not by the indices or explanation from your country, from your own country. In my own case, Nigeria, if I should convert that $35,000, let's say for example now, in this age, when a dollar is 500 naira, 500 times $35,000, that is 17.5 million naira per year. 17.5 million naira. That is a lot. I can go around and say I am a millionaire and be jumping around that I'm a millionaire. However, if I do not interpret my funding letter using the country I'm going to, America or Canada, as my reference, I'm going to fail. And I will just share one or two with you. Number one, I know most of us on this call, we are in Nigeria. And I'm going to use that as an example. Even the best of places in Lagos, right? With 500, let's say with 1 million naira per year, you can rent a 2-bedroom apartment comfortably with 1 million. That's even on the high side. 1 million naira, you can get a 2-bedroom apartment. 1 million naira for a whole year. Now, in Canada, for example, to get 2-bedroom apartment in the city where I live, in Winnipeg, a decent 2-bedroom apartment, you will need at least $1,200. A decent one, $1,200. Now, for a month, that is not per year, that is per month. You are going to pay $1,200 per month. Now, let's even say you are not taking a 2-bedroom apartment. Let us say you are taking 1-bedroom, sorry, a room in a house. A room in a house is going to cost you a minimum of $500 per month. Mind you, the scholarship in Canada is smaller, okay, than the one in the US. In fact, the best, okay, in the province and city where I live, if you have a very superb scholarship, you are going to get around $20,000, $25,000 per year. Now, if you factor in the fact that you are an international student, you are going to be paying, for example, $10,000 per year for your tuition, and then you factor in $6,000 for your rent. That is $16,000. You are going to eat. Your feeding, you factor in some money. Your transportation, you factor in some money. You are going to buy jacket and winter boots. You are going to factor that into it. You are going to do big boy or big girl. I mean, you are going to want to show that you are in Canada. You are going to buy some nice clothes. That is part of it. At the end of the day, what they are paying you, that is what they call it, stipend. My own definition, this might not be from the dictionary, but my own definition of stipend is the amount that can keep your body and soul together. That's all. They are not giving you money to be able to now start to promise heaven and earth to your siblings or your friends when you are about to leave. If you do that, you can put yourself in trouble. Now you had promised your dad that, don't worry, daddy, I'll be sending you car every year or every month because I'm earning $17,500. My brother, by the time they remove all your tuition and everything, you find that you have nothing to save. So you must be able to interpret your funding not based on your country, your own country, but based on the country you are going to. In some countries, you have to cater for your insurance. You have to pay for insurance. You have to pay for a lot of things. So you factor that in. What they are giving you is just enough for you to go through school without thinking about money. So get that straight, that you must be able to interpret your funding letter very well so that you don't promise heaven and earth and put yourself in trouble. Okay? And then the last thing I'm going to say here before I start attending to your question is that how do you now prepare to apply to schools, for visa or for all those things? Now, once you get your admission, you want to start applying for visa, either in the US or Canada. You don't want to wait. And mind you, you might decide not to use an agent or a consultant to apply for your visa. All you need, they are already online. Everything you need, it's online. Now, mind you, and I'm going to say this in that sense of seriousness, no consultant can influence the decision from an embassy. No consultant. No consultant can influence the decision from US embassy or Canadian embassy. Why then do you need a consultant if you need one? It's so because they have done this thing for a long time. They know what you need to do and how you need to do them. That is all they are going to guide you to do. They cannot, and I repeat it, they cannot, they don't have the power to influence the decision from the embassy. But because they have license, because they have experience, they can show you what you need to do. And that is exactly what you pay them for. You are not paying them because they can influence the decision. No, they will submit it the same way you will submit it if you have done it by yourself. Just like even applying to graduate school, you don't need a consultant if you don't want. You can do everything by yourself by following the guide, by following the tips that I've just shared with you. You don't need to come to me in either. But people still come to me, to my company, because they feel, oh, Johnson, I need some clarification and then I schedule 1 or 2 hours with them, and they have to pay me for the time. They pay me for the time, but they get the knowledge and they run with it. That is all. So you don't have to, what I'm trying to say is this, you don't have to spend a fortune for you to get scholarship. You don't have to spend millions for it before you can get scholarship. You can spend $0 or you can spend a token and maximize it by following steps. And part of those steps is what I have documented in my book that I released in June of last year, and is selling like wildfire in Nigeria and every part of Africa. Because it's a guide that can show you a step-by-step way of securing fully funded graduate admission. Okay, now having given you tips that have helped me over the past 15 years and has helped some of my people, my friends, my colleagues, my clients, I hope you guys are still getting 1 or 2 things. Let me know if you are getting 1 or 2 things from this before I start answering some of your questions. I have a lot of questions here that I'm going to be answering. Hopefully, we are going to I will answer all of them. If not, I will answer a few, I will answer some of them, and then I will allow you guys to ask your question. All right. Thank you. I'm happy that you are getting something from it. Getting into graduate school is easy, it's straightforward. If you don't allow anybody to bamboozle you, it's straightforward. It's straightforward. Okay, now it is time to answer some of the questions that have been sent to me. All right, number 1 question says, how possible is it for an HND graduate to secure a fully funded master's scholarship in Canada? Well, unfortunately, HND graduates are not considered bachelors, right? It means that HND is considered an advanced diploma. And for that reason, with HND, you are likely will not be able to get into graduate school, not to talk of getting scholarship. Unfortunately, I'm sorry about to say that, but HND is not considered a bachelor's. So you might not be able to use your HND to apply for graduate school. However, there is a particular route you can take that can help you. If you can send your results to West, let them convert your results. And mind you, for your HND to now be considered strong, it has to be very strong. Your result must be superb. You cannot have HND lower credits and be expecting to be admitted into a grad school. That might be a tough nut to crack. I'm sorry to say. So ensure that you send your results to West, let them convert your results for you, and then use that West evaluated result as an attachment when you are talking to professors. Don't use your HND. Now they have converted your results to the standard around here, so use that to connect with professors. But I need to say that for you to stand a chance, your results must be up there. A very strong upper credit or distinction can do the magic. But you have to walk extra mile, knowing that with HND, you are sort of disadvantaged. I'm sorry to say this, but that is the reality. That is the reality in this part of the world. And that is why most of the time I tell people that are close to me, ensure you do direct entry or your conversion from Nigeria. Okay? The next question says, well, I think I've answered the other question. How can I apply and get admission same year? The answer is yes or no. Now, yes, because depending on what's personally, from my experience, it takes between 6 to 9 months for you to start this process and land yourself in the university. Between 6 to 9 months. Now, for example, some of my clients or people that are going to be getting into the fall admission 2022, which is in September, August, September, the admission sessions the application deadline has passed for some schools in November, for some schools in December, a few schools here in January, and a few other schools in February. So that means that if you are thinking of getting into grad school this fall, you still have 1 or 2 months to now look for schools that are still open. So that means you are going to be running against time, in that you now have to get professors, you have to apply, get your transcript. And I know how crazy it is to get transcripts in Nigeria, well, or from other schools, other countries. Then you now have to also get your reference letters. So you are running against time. I would rather say that you focus on next year, January, use the whole of this year to pursue and get all your documents together, and then apply for winter or spring, as it's being called in the US, spring semester in the US or winter semester in Canada. All right. So 6 to 9 months is what I know that it can take you between when you start the application and get your visa and find yourself in Canada or the US. Okay. Who should I contact before applying? I think I have answered that question. How to access funding and potential supervisor? I have explained that in the tips I shared. You have to introduce yourself to the professor and write professionally. I wanna Agana that those will not get you anywhere. And I also shared some tips on how you can write compelling letter of introduction in my book. Okay, you can get a copy of that book and it can be shipped to you in Nigeria within days. Okay. Can I get fully funded scholarship for PGD programs? No, PGD is not usually funded. You have to fund it by yourself. It is a diploma. It is not a degree. That is why it has to be self-funded. However, if you can do well in your first semester, you can be eligible for the internal scholarships and bursaries in that school. Okay. How to make your recommender write as many recommendation letters for you without getting them pissed off. Okay, when you want to get reference letters from people, take for example now, after what I have explained earlier, you are now down to 5 universities that you want to apply to. You want to ensure that you have those 5 universities in line, and then you send them the 5 universities. Oh, Professor Johnson, I have these 5 universities. I want you to help me to write letter of reference to. And so they know that in just one shot, they can get them out without having to do that 5 times, because the letters are going to be similar, just a little bit tweak here and there will get the letter out fine and nice. Okay. How can I get funding with a low CGPA? Well, if your CGPA is low, I don't know how low it is, you have to do other things. You have to show that low GPA is actually a minus for scholarships. But even with your low GPA, let us say you have been able to do a whole lot of other things. Maybe you have some innovations. Maybe you have publications, and then maybe you have experiences that the professor can extract from. Then everything will now be on you to be able to now tell your story in a way that will be compelling to the professor. Know that nobody can write about you better than yourself. When it comes to writing letter of introduction, you must be able to write compelling letter to tell your own story to a prospective professor. So when you have a low GPA, you must be able to come in with other things. Okay, innovation, maybe patents, maybe projects that are superb, maybe publications that are top-notch, experiences that the professor can find worthy. You can't say you have no GPA and then you are an engineer and you have worked 10 years in the bank as a teller. I don't know how you're going to tell that story to a Professor Johnson, who is a professor of superalloy. Are you getting me now? So that is you are going to find yourself in a serious dilemma if you have a first class, for example, or a very good 2-1, even if you have worked in the bank for 10 years, you can still find your way here because you have a good result to play around with. But with a low GPA and a career that has taken you far away from your, it might be you have to be very good in storytelling to convince such professors. Is it possible? Yes. Is it going to be easy? Maybe not. Okay. I have a question there. It says, as an undergraduate, who is gonna the person is telling me who is gonna graduate this year? What kind of scholarship would you recommend? Scholarships are there everywhere. If you are going to be graduating this year, I mean, that is even very good for you. Try to start to woo professors now. Nobody tells you you cannot secure a professor before you graduate. Imagine you sending your professor your result up to your first semester final year, and they are superb. So Professor Johnson, these are my results up to my final semester. You will be able to get professor even before you start applying. So I would say that this is your best time to start applying and getting attention by professors even before you graduate. By the time you graduate, boom, you just find yourself that you are just having numerous or multiple professors to work with. All right. Somebody is saying, how easy will it be to move to Canada with a family of 4 kids, pursuing postgraduate study at the same time? Can I leverage my private practice civil engineering consulting firm to Canada? Well, like I mentioned earlier, there are different pathways through which people can come into Canada or go to the US. What I'm sharing now is a pathway of education. Can you come in with your family to study? The answer is yes. But there are limitations. When you are coming as a graduate student, you will be the one, especially in Canada, you will be the one they would give visa to first. You will not have to apply for your family. Why? Because you are the one that is coming to study, not your 4 kids, not your wife, if you are the husband that is coming, right? So you'll be the one to be issued the visa and the study permit. When you now land here, you will now apply for your family to come in. I hope I'm clear about that. Now, I need to also tell you this. If you find yourself in Canada and your spouse is with you, if you are as a student in Canada, you can only work for 20 hours per week. You can only work for 20 hours per week. However, with your spouse with you, your spouse can work full time. Your spouse can work full time. But as a student, you can only work 20 hours. The difference, there is a difference in that when you move to the US. In the US, if you are a spouse to a graduate student, you cannot work because you are on F2 visa. An F2 visa holder is dependent on the F1 visa holder. If you are going to work at all, it's not going to be a legitimate work. Maybe work that is not recorded somewhere. So that is the difference. Anyways, okay. Securing master in business analytics without GRE. Okay, let me explain to you. In Canada, 90% of the schools and programs will not require you to write any exam. In Canada, you don't have to write any exam except for business administration. If you are going for MBA, you might have to write GMAT. But any other program, 90% of them, you don't write any exam. No GRE, no TOEFL for majority of Nigerians. Yeah, in Canada. Currently in the US, they are waiving GRE requirements because of COVID. A lot of people have taken advantage of that, and they have been admitted into top universities in the US, winning scholarships as much as $40,000 per year. So in the US currently, you can take advantage of the waiver that is going on currently, that GRE and GMAT has been waived, even for this fall 2022 admission cycle. Take advantage of it. It's not going to be like that forever. But in Canada, if you are coming for any program except for MBA, you don't need to write any exam. That means that, so how then do the school rank you? It is based on your GPA, your reference letter, and then and how you now measure up with all of those things, right? Okay, every other person is hearing. Mr. Tune is there. Every other person is hearing. I think the problem is from you. Okay, then the other question I have here is that how to get funding from management students. This is the same thing. Any program you are running, either management, engineering, arts, it's going to be the same thing. You are in the arts, you are in the humanities, you are in engineering. The process is the same. The steps are the same. If you get a copy of my book, you will be able to get those steps without the help of anybody. All right. Somebody is asking, can you mentor me throughout my application process? Can I gain a fully funded scholarship without writing GRE, IELTS, or TOEFL? Okay, the answer is yes. I can mentor you. I can guide you. Now, I like the word you use, mentor. Now, in AJ Dixon Consult, where I happen to be the managing partner, we don't do packaging. We guide clients. That is why I took the pain to write the book, to pour out my 15 years experience into that book, to be able to guide people so that they don't need to be swindled by people that don't know anything. So in that case, there are 3 categories of support or consultations that I render and my company render for people that you don't have to come. If you go through the steps I've explained now, and probably you go a step ahead and get a copy of my book, you don't need me. If you now feel, okay, yeah, I still need support, there are 3 categories. We have the basic, that is just 2-hour session one time. That's all. We have the medium, that is a 3-time session of 2 hours each, and then you can spread it out as much as you like. And then we have the premium, which is a 5-time session of 2 hours each, meaning that you have 5 sessions to meet with me, where we'll go through the processes. And in those, once you are part of that community, either of the 3, we also share some of our resources with you, some of sample letter of introduction, sample statement of purpose, and sometimes, now this doesn't happen often, depending on the category you go for. Sometimes I have professors, maybe professor friends who need students, and they will reach out to me, oh Johnson, I need students of this form. If your profile meets with that, in that case, you have just won jackpot, because you don't have to bother your head again. I just recommend you to the professor, and that is it. Have I done that in the past? Yes, especially in the US. I have clients that I've recommended in the past in the US and also in Canada here, when we have such calls from professors, friends that need students. In that case, that is only open for people who are into the premium category of our consultation. I hope I have cleared that. But you don't need to come to me. Get those tips. I also share regularly on LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook. And also regularly, I do video live sessions on Instagram and then on Facebook sometimes, where I share more tips. But then if you want to get yourself ready, you can get a copy of my book, and then that would be like a guide. Even if you have to now meet with me, it's going to be a very tailor-made question. You are not going to be asking me basic questions that you can find in books or that you can find on the internet. Imagine you paying me for my time and then asking me, so Mr. Johnson, where is Canada? Is it in North America or Europe? You're only wasting your money. You only have 2 hours with me, or you're asking me, So, Mr. Johnson, what does it mean? What does it mean to write letter of introduction? Well, I will explain to you, but I feel like you can do most of those things by getting a copy of my book and then coming with some questions that you will not find in the book. Or okay, maybe what you need is that, Mr. Johnson, I have written my letter of introduction. Can you help me review it? The answer is yes. I can review it. If you enter one of our sessions, one of our categories, maybe a basic or a medium or a premium, right? So if you want to get more of that, you can send me email and then we'll send you what those categories entail. But I know that now, if you look at what you have gained from what I've explained to you in the past 1 hour, now imagine what you are going to gain if you have one-on-one session with me. But you don't have to come to me. That is one thing I want you to know. You don't need me to get your scholarship. You need yourself. In fact, I always say that you need 3 things to get fully funded graduate admission. Number 1, you need a good computer, either a desktop or a laptop. Number 2, you need a good connection, internet connection. And number 3, you need a copy of my book. Once you can get those 3, my brother and sister, just continue to get yourself into searching the internet, getting information and following, using the steps. In that book, let me get some copies here. I have some copies here. In the book, I have detailed all the steps one by one and how you can maximize those steps to get yourself into better position. I mean, I also share a few stories about some of my friends that have gone through this pathway before and what they are doing with their lives now. And as well as some of my clients that have gone through this pathway, who have done through my consultation sessions before and my mentorship program before, and how they are doing with their lives, right? Not all of them are here, just a few of them are here. I mean, just recently I shared something on the social media about one of my mentees. That mentee is so dear to me that he came in, I guided him through the process, and then he came in as a fully funded master's student to study at the University of Manitoba. He finished in 2019, got himself a nice job, and just towards the end of last year, his permanent residency was approved. He doesn't need me. He applied for the permanent residency by himself. I guided him using the same principles that I've shared in this book. Somebody is asking how they can get the book. The link is there. Click the link, and then the book will be delivered to you wherever you are in the world, anywhere, either in Nigeria or anywhere in the world. Okay, I'm going to answer 1 more or 2 questions, and then I will allow maybe 5 people to ask questions from the audience. Okay, can I study master's degree without investing money in it? Because I come from middle class family who got no money for higher studies. Let me tell you, I came from you are from middle class. I'm from a lower class. My mom used to be a roadside trader. A trader is even I think that's a glorified way of saying somebody that is selling on the street side. On the street side. If I tell you how many things I have worked in my life, you'll be surprised. Forget that the face is looking nice now. I came from the lower echelon of the economy in Nigeria, of the society. But today, the story has changed. The story has changed. You don't have to have money. All you need to do is to have intention, your willingness, and you will be a guide. You can go to grad school without paying a dime. My wife studied, I think, by the records, from her 2nd year in the university in OAU till she completed her PhD at the University of Manitoba. She never paid a dime for tuition. My wife, she's part of our director. She never paid a dime, right from 200 level in the university till she finished her PhD in 2018. She never paid a dime in tuition. She got scholarships. It is possible. Okay, one last question from here. I am going to allow you. The person is asking, which school would you recommend for a second-class lower graduate, and is it possible to get fully funded scholarship? I think I've explained that. To get fully funded scholarship, when your GPA is low, you have to package it in a different way. Package it without telling lies, because if you tell lies, it will find you out. You don't tell lies. Don't tell. I need to re-emphasize it, please. When you are sending letter to professors, don't tell lies. Don't tell them what you cannot do. You are going to put yourself in trouble. Don't say what you cannot do. Don't tell them you can solve Navier-Stokes equation when the only thing you can solve is just simultaneous equation. Don't put yourself in trouble. Tell them what you can do and show the willingness that you can learn. Show the willingness that you can learn. However, don't also shortchange yourself. Don't shortchange yourself. Everything that you think will increase your candidacy, please let them know. Okay? All right. So I will now open the floor for 5 people to ask questions. Please just raise your hand and I will allow you, I will unmute you. If you want to ask questions, just raise your hand and I will unmute you to ask questions. Just 5 people, and that will be all for today. We have been on this. So I have Daniel Abiodun, I have Olufunke Dina, I have Adeni Ridwan and Benga Ugundi to ask questions. So Mr. Daniel, I'm going to unmute you now. You can ask your question. Okay, let us unmute Mr. Daniel. I think a co-host will unmute Mr. Daniel Abiodun. Thank you. So go on.
Good evening. Thanks for the lecture. It's really, it has really enlightened us on so many things. But me as an individual, I have HND in surveillance informatics, but I've done my PGD. So I'm now asking, maybe I can apply for a fully funded graduate degree in the US or in Canada. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. Now, a PGD can help you to a certain extent, but if you look at the definition of PGD, they call it postgraduate diploma. So it is still a diploma. It is not a degree. So it's going to be tough to be able to secure full funding for such. Now, can you now, this is what you can do. This is what I would advise. Get your results evaluated by WES. Hopefully you have a good result. Then leverage your WES evaluated results and send letter to professors, and then let them view you from that end. From that end on, you can tell them that you finished your undergrad. Now, you are not telling lies by saying you didn't have HND. You had your undergrad from Federal Polytechnic Ado Ekiti, like myself, where I had my associate degree, OND. But then you want to tell them that your result has been evaluated by WES. And this is what your result says. They can review it. It has been attached. And by that, you find yourself, you can continue to now send letters, and hopefully you're going to get yourself in that. But you don't want to think that, yeah, with your HND, you can get scholarship or PGD. No. You want to go that route and ensure that your result is evaluated, and use your evaluated results to pitch your idea to professors. I hope I answered that question. But it is possible. It is possible, but the question is that, is your result high enough and competitive enough? I would ask you, you don't have to answer now. You can answer that by yourself. Okay, let us have Mr. Ojo Azim. Unmute Mr. Ojo Azim. Can you please unmute Mr. Ojo Azim? Thank you.
Hello, good evening. My name is Ojo Azim. Actually, the question I want to ask is in 2 ways. I want to know, for somebody who is hoping to apply for a master's in Canada, if peradventure you don't get the scholarship, but at the long run can you have an admission? Can you have an admission without a scholarship? And even at the long run, you get a full-time relocation to the Canada, like after your program.
Okay. Yeah, if I get your question well, is that okay, you're applying for masters in Canada and you don't have scholarship, okay, and then you come in into the country, can you become a permanent resident in long run? Is that your question? Oh, I can't hear. Can you unmute him, please?
Yes, I did. And at the same time, I mean, for somebody who has no money, but eventually has gotten the admission and is there, but the person does not have scholarship, but is open to work and use it to fund the masters at the same time. Like those things, are they connecting?
Okay, that's a good question, Mr. Azim. You can mute it now. That's a good question. While it is possible to secure admission without scholarship, in fact, if you tell the professor that, professor, don't worry, I have money, just give me admission, professor will be happy. Then you can transfer your money to somebody else that needs it. Okay. Going to school in North America is expensive. In Canada, as a student, no matter how you are, you can only work for 20 hours. How can you possibly work for 20 hours and pay $10,000 per month, per year in tuition, minus your house keep, 6,000 for your house rent, maybe another 2,000 or 3,000 for your feeding, and then maybe another 1,000 for transport. And then most of the time, as a student, you don't get most of these lucrative jobs. Maybe it's going to be like, what do you call now? They call it a minimum wage job most of the time, $13 an hour, $15 an hour, maximum $20 an hour. $20 an hour, multiply that by 20 hours per week. That is $400. How many of that are you going to do before you raise $10,000? That is the reality. I'm not saying it's not possible to do, but that person is going to do a whole lot of working than studying. So it's possible, but just know that it is going to be a whole lot of work. And you must also continue to maintain good grades in school. Once you are unable to maintain good grades in school, you and your work, Ileya, I'm sorry to say that if you do have Nigerian, your wife would. So you want to ensure that you have those plans. If while it is possible, I'm not saying it's not possible, but know that it's going to be a little bit tough. But just so that maybe, yeah, I will do this. Maybe it's just 2 hours, 2 years. I'm ready to do it. It is doable. It is possible. I hope I've answered your question. All right, Mrs. I think let's go to Miss Olufunke Dina. Can you unmute Olufunke Dina? Unmute Olufunke Dina. Can you unmute Olufunke Dina? Okay, yeah, you have the floor now.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, sir. The webinar has been highly insightful. My question is this: in my recent research for supervisors, I was able to start a professor in University of Montreal, Canada. And he responded back to me that I should go ahead and make application to the school. That after the application, the faculty now share the applications to the respective professors, and that this is the professor that will now pick out of the people that applied to say they are going to supervise us or not. And those people that are picked, it will be automatically funded. That's good. But the thing is, I want to ask, is it advisable? Because the normal thing is secure professor first before paying the application. So now if I pay application fee and at the end of the day, they're not telling me story. So I just want to clarify that and use wisdom.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good question. That's a good question. Now, if you remember very carefully, when I was talking about getting professors before applying, I said 90% of universities and about 90% of programs would ask you to get a professor before applying. Maybe the remaining 10% it's part of the program you are applying to, where they say, okay, apply to the pool. The professor will then select whoever they want to. While a lot of schools will want to do that, but you also want to continue to talk to that professor so that by the time he's considering people to take, he can consider you. If that is the system in that school, you have to follow it. But let me say the better option would be that I have had conversation with this professor. He had given me his word. One of the clients I worked with this past year, the professor actually signed an undertaking to supervise him, signed and sent to the Faculty of Graduate Studies for that school, telling the school that, yes, I have spoken with this client, to this candidate, we have communicated, I am willing and committed to sponsor him and fund him for so number of years for his program. In that case, do you not think when that person apply, he will have to be racking his head? No. Why? Because he already secured the professor. The professor had even signed an undertaking to take him after they have been able to come to the same town, right? So while it is good to get professors before you apply, if the requirement in the school is that just apply to the pool and you are sure that you have presented your case well to certain professors. Now, what you want to do is to continue to make your case known to some professor that you feel you can work with. By the time they are looking at students to take, they can then consider you. But I will equally advise that if you can look at other schools where you might want to talk to professors and get their approval before applying, it will also increase your chances of getting in. Because if you don't have a professors to fight for you, it means that you are going to be competing with people in the pool. Yeah, but if you have a professor and you guys have been communicating, okay, let me tell you, before I moved from the US to Canada, myself and my professor, we communicated, we exchanged more than 50 emails. I still have the record. More than 50 emails trying to understand why he should take me. So those are, you must be ready for that. Don't think that you just send one email and the person say, oh, wow, I like your write-up, please come over. No, you may have to explain more and more things to him. You have to be able to come up with good and compelling story to convince him that you are the best candidate to be taken. All right. I hope I've answered that question.
Yeah,
so let us have Mr. Benga Ogunde. Thank you, Mrs. Olufunke. I wish you all the best anyways. Mr. Benga, go ahead.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm connecting from Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you very much for this opportunity to hear from you. Johnson, I know. Yes, thank you very much once again. My question goes thus. For me, I have personal experiences because I've applied to schools in the US and Canada. So I can say some things about admission processes. But for following your steps as in top-notch, quite well, hitting it on the head, no doubt about that. But my personal experience with the US, Canada, it's a very bad experience. I don't want to talk about it, but I'm going to talk about that of the US. For the US, I've written to professors, I've written to different people from the faculties of different schools. And the funny thing is, I don't get to get response from them. And I still get admission. I've been working I did chemical engineering. I've been working for like a decade in chemical engineering firm, or an engineering firm. Let me just put it that way. But the thing is, I don't get the funding. That's the point. I'll write to them. There won't be any response. I'll get admission. I've done the result conversion. It's okay. It's over 3.5 out of 4. But I don't get the funding. So my question is, what do you think I can do differently? Because sometimes I don't look at it like you got what's needed. You get the admission, but you don't get funding. So then another thing, although I've not tried the direct page yet, I think from what I've seen so far, based on what you have said, I've done my researches, my findings, and I feel I qualify for them. But I'm going to ask, number one, for the master's program, what can be done different? What can be done? What different way should I approach it? Then number two, would you suggest a direct page and any other thing?
Okay, thank you for that question. I mean, and I'm sorry for your experiences you have had so far with the US and Canada, but yeah, I mean, it happens. I want to ask, how many emails have you sent to professors? Have you sent to 1,000 professors? There is no, yeah, do you want to respond to that?
Yes, of course not. I've not done that.
Have you sent to 100 professors?
Of course not, because sending to 100 professors, as in doing your streamlining, like at the end of the day, like you said, you might have 30 schools. At the end of the day, you might end up with like 5. That's to be realistic, or maybe 3 sometimes. So, and then to be realistic also, looking at the research areas, you have to look at, you said something and it was really realistic, but actually you said the truth, like do not lie. There's some research area that you know that, okay, this is not your area. So there's no point, but that's from my own point of view. That's what I feel. There's no point mailing those professors. So at the end of the day, in the department, you might end up sending to like 2 people. So of the 5 schools, that would be like maybe 10 mails.
Yes.
Initially.
Now let me answer. Let me try and answer your question. Number one is this: to be able to secure professors, you have to continue to send emails. What the email will do is 2 things, majorly 2 things that the letter of introduction you are sending will do. Number one, it will improve your candidacy to be admitted. Number 2, you are already telling the professor, but professor, I need money. Because part of what I'm going to put in the email is that you need scholarship. So the professor knows that this guy, even if I give him admission without scholarship, it's not coming. That is it. Scholarship is key for me. For all of my clients that I work with, it is primarily for scholarship. Primarily for scholarship. Because I personally, if I was going to be gathering money to go to the US, my brother, I would say be gathering the money now. Because like I told you, my family then, we are the lower, if not the lowest echelon of the society, right? My mom was just roadside trader, right? Sell moi, sell jadindi, sell concan. I mean, these are the things that how much can you say from there? From sponge, selling sponge, from selling jadindi. But with good grades and with good presentation, here I am today. Well, we are no more than the lower echelon of society anyways. That has changed. Thanks to God. But what I'm trying to say is this: you have to continue to send the emails until you get a yes. But the other thing is this: professors who prefer most of the time. Now, this is not always, but most of the time, professors prefer people that want PhD, because masters do them little for their career. PhD is the big deal, either in Canada or in the US. PhD, the number of PhD they are able to graduate adds to their to how long it will take them to get their promotion. Because their promotion in the university here is dependent on how many publications are you making, are you getting out, how many students are you graduating, including PhDs, and how much are you bringing in funding. 3 basic tripod. I mean, that is a tripod stand upon which their promotion is dependent. The number of publications, the number of students they have graduated, and the amount of money they are bringing on board. So if you are telling them that you want to come and do a PhD, it increases their tendency to listen to you. Does it mean you cannot do a master's with them? Yes, you can. But you can get a direct PhD with a bachelor's in the US, not in Canada anyways. In Canada, you don't get a direct PhD. You get a master's and then a PhD. In the US, you can get a direct PhD. I hope I've answered that question. So the next thing you can do to get yourself straight to continue is to see how are you writing your letter of introduction. Maybe a session or two with me can help you to straighten that up, where we can share some of our letter of introduction with you to be a guide to you. And these are the letters that have worked magic in the past and still working magic. All right, so let us have Mr. Ridwan to ask his question, and then I'm going to have Mr. Somebody, I think Josh. Somebody's saying wants to ask a question too. Abdi. So let Ridwan ask a question, and then I'm going to have Afolabi, and that will be all, and I'll wrap things up. Okay, go ahead. I'll say one other things, and I'll wrap things up. Mr. Adeni.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Daddy. My question goes like this. One of my friends bought your book maybe some months ago. So he called me yesterday after doing the analysis, after going through the book. He followed the Nigerian conversion to University of Manitoba. That's West. So after calculating it, the point is 2.92. He's also here with us. So he's now asking me, is it possible for him to get fully funded graduate admission? Because inside the book, you made mention of 3.00 minimum.
Okay,
that's number one.
Okay,
number two, I'm also facing the challenge, sir.
Okay.
I'm also facing the challenges where my CGPA is lower credit. So I don't know how to go about that.
Okay, I'll answer your question. Thank you. For your friend that is having 2.92, if you go to University of Manitoba website, the minimum requirement is 3.0 over 4.5, not 3.0 over 5 in Nigeria, but 3.0 over 4.5 in the University of Manitoba. So that means that if you do the conversion using the University of Manitoba system and you have 2.92 over 4.5, personally, I will not waste my time in University of Manitoba. I will go to another school, because that means that I didn't even meet the minimum requirement. Meeting the minimum requirement is not a guarantee for admission. So that you are able to meet the minimum requirement, it does not automatically mean that you're going to be admitted, because tons of people will meet minimum requirements. And for your information, if you look at the age we are now, people are having superb results now, both in the private and public schools in Nigeria. You will see 5.00 GPA at graduation. CGPA, you see 4.9, 4.8. By the time you convert those ones to 4.5, they're going to see that they're going to be on maybe 4.4, 4.3, and somebody with 2.9. These are the people you are competing with. So if I were that person, I will not bother with University of Manitoba. Once I know that I don't even meet the minimum requirement, I will just go to other school that can accommodate me. And that is where you have to search. Nobody can do that for you. You don't need to pay somebody to do that for you. You get a laptop, get a computer, get an internet, and start searching. In fact, in my book, I have a list of some schools. I have even their websites are there of some schools you can look at, so that those one can even be where I'm going to start from. The university's websites, they are there to start from, both in the US, especially in Canada, a lot of them. And then so you have something to start with. But I will advise the person to just go to other schools if you know you are not even able to meet the minimum requirement, knowing that meeting the minimum requirement is not a guarantee for admission. A lot of people are coming with perfect GPA. Okay, so the last person we are going to have is Mr. Afolabi Afiz.
Afiz, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you.
We really appreciate your efforts on us, and we pray to yield dividends.
Amen.
To you, and we'll be sharing on LinkedIn how you help us to get our fundings and admissions.
Thank you.
Yeah, my question goes thus. Applying to say fall or summer, or applying to spring semester, there are times one will be waiting for responses from the schools to know the decisions, whether it is accepted or rejected. But we don't know when such emails or whatever means of communication they use will get to us to know if we've been accepted or rejected. We need information from you if we have such. That okay, somebody has applied for fall semester in US, and the result has not been gotten till say February of the year of admission. Or what do you think the time frame should be?
That's good. That's a good question.
Yeah.
From my understanding, for fall admission, by March at the latest, you must get a response, whether or not you get it. By March at the latest. You watch out in March of this year. You'll be seeing of evaluations on LinkedIn. March at the latest. From February till March. In fact, some schools will make decision this January. A lot of schools will make decision in February, but March, almost all the schools will make decision in March. So that is for fall. If you are applying for summer, most of the time by that March, April, because summer class will start in May, June. By March, February, you also get your decision. Right? If you are applying for winter or spring, as it case may be, by say August, September, you will get your decision. But they will communicate decision to you, whether or not you are admitted. If it is a yes, you will know. If it is a no, you will know. And they will state reasons why they have not accepted you. I have clients who have been rejected because they could not get a professor for them. Well, that is after it was after that situation that the person now came to us. In that case, the person applied to the school without knowing who the professors there, what they are working on. Because like I also equally explained in this book, there are several reasons why somebody can be rejected. One might be because there is no room for the research you said you want to go into. Then if you are just coming with one abstract research and the school does not have capacity for that, that was why I said sometimes we may have to adjust our research area to fit into what the professor is working on. Right? In my own case now, I wanted to study in my undergrad. People know that I wanted solid mechanics, this and that. But in coming to Canada, I had to readjust that, and then I I accepted it that I would like to study in the material engineering. So my work is now an interface. I'm not a material engineering through, but I am combining my mechanical engineering with material science. In fact, my master's thesis was thermomechanical fatigue behavior. I looked at the thermomechanical fatigue behavior of a welded super alloy using a different heat treatment. Now, it means that I am combining. I'm looking at the response of that material mechanically, and also looking at what has changed in that material as a result of the heat treatment I have subjected it to. So now I can call myself a material engineer, I will not be lying. And I can call myself a mechanical engineer, and I will still not be lying, because I had my bachelor's in mechanical engineering, my master's is a combination of mechanical and material, and now my PhD is a combination of mechanical and material. I'm still working on super alloy, but not welding in this case, is on additive manufacturing, which is part of Industry 4.0. Okay, I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah, you have. Yeah. Thank you
All
very
right, so
much.
don't worry. Look out for your admission letter. It will come.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Somebody is asking, what can one do during the period of waiting for decision of the graduate school he or she has applied to? Okay, that will be the last question. When you are waiting for that, you can continue to poke, where I use the word poke your professor and the school that, okay, what should we be working on? You can start to work on, to read journal paper publication by that professor or that research group to understand what you are likely going to be working on. You can start to upskill. What are the skills that you will need that would help you in your research study by the time you resume? You want to start working on that because you have time now. Like for most of you that have applied to the US now, the decision will be coming in February, March. What are you supposed to be doing by now? Upskill, 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 upskill. Talk to the professor if you have one. Okay, what should you be doing now? Are there journal paper you should be studying, you should be writing? While you might not be able to understand or everything in the journal paper, at least that would give you an idea of what you are likely going to be working on. So I would say upskill. Oh, please mute that Olufunke. Sorry. Olufunke should mute herself. So you can upskill, you can read journal paper, and then you can be getting yourself mentally ready. What are the documents that you need to apply for your visa? You want to equally get that ready. What are the documents? Your international passport, your whatever documents you will need. How are you going to apply for your visa if you eventually get your admission? What are the requirements? Everything you have to start getting them ready. I would say those should be your concern for now. As I close, I want to now formally ask you that if you feel what I have shared with you is worthwhile, if you want to dive more into it in more detail, I have this book that I published June of this year, Funded Graduate Admission, 10 Steps to a Successful Graduate Admission in North America. It comprises of all the steps and the guide that you need to secure fully funded graduate admission in North America. It is based on my own personal experience. So these are, whatever you're going to read in this book, they are not things that you can find elsewhere because they are not copy and paste. They are what I experienced personally and what some of the people I have guided have experienced. So I try to put them there because I know I cannot reach out to everybody. So because of that, I say, okay, let me put my knowledge into a book and let people get a copy. You can get a copy using the link that we have currently on the chat. And then we are running a 20% discount right now. So if you get the book, you are going to enjoy 20% discount. Also, you can order it on Amazon. I have a contract with Amazon. They are going to ship it to you, wherever you are in the world. They're going to ship it to you. I think they have issues with shipping to Nigeria. So that is why we have our own local distribution in Nigeria. Also, like I said, at AJ Dixon Consult, we guide our clients on how to secure a funded graduate admission, and we have 3 categories: the premium, the medium, and the basic. So you can reach out to me. You can send me email at jaina@ajdixon.com and let us start working on that. I will continue to share information on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and I want to thank everyone of you that have attended this program. I hope you have gotten 1 or 2 things that can guide you on your journey to securing fully funded graduate admission. I wish you all the best and happy New Year. Thank you and God bless you. So you can reach out to me on my social media platform and let us connect. Thank you so much for this.